Hello and welcome to the library. I am Mr. Mayor, and I have challenged myself to do 10 Rebecca Caudill book talks in 10 minutes. Some of these books I absolutely loved. Some of them I liked, and some of them they were just okay to me. But that's okay. You don't have to read all of them if you don't want to, but I would love for you to check some of them out. So here I go 10 in 10. The first one is called Genesis Begins Again. And it's about a 13-year-old girl named Genesis who has just been kind of dealt a heavy hand in her life. She's had to move constantly because her family keeps getting evicted thanks to her alcoholic, gambling father, and they're always kind of defaulting on their rent. But even more than that, she hates just the skin that she is in. She has very dark skin like her father, and she wishes that she could have lighter skin like her mother. She goes so far to try to change the way she looks and even hurting herself. But Genesis has a talent that demands that she stands out. And with the help of her chorus teacher, Genesis discovers a way to navigate the kind of the pain that she is carrying. So this book's all about kind of loving who you are and finding that there's so much more than what meets the eye. Next up, To Night Owl from Dogfish. About two girls, Avery and Bet. Girls that are both 12, but quite opposite. Bet is fearless, outgoing, loves all animals, lives in California. Avery, who's kind of bookish, she's intense, she's afraid of a lot of things, especially deep water. She lives in New York City. But one thing they do have in common is that they're 12 and they both are being raised by single gay dads. And when their dads fall in love, Bet and Avery are sent against their will to the same sleepaway camp. And their dads hope that they'll find common ground and become friends and possibly one day become a family. But things take a turn, and for Bet and Avery and their dads, and all of a sudden these two girls can't imagine life without each other. This is told. There's letters back and forth to their dads when they're at sleepaway camp. I really liked this one. Maybe He Just Likes You by Barbara D. Really like this one as well. Seventh grader Mila. The book starts out with some boys giving her an unwanted hug on the school blacktop, and a few days later, one of the boys tells Mila it's his birthday and asks for a birthday hug. And, Mila thinks, oh, they're just being friendly, but it just feels weird. Callum's hug lasts a few seconds too long, and the boys are just kind of poking her, and she doesn't like it. But, she tells her friends, and her friends say, oh, they're just flirting with you. Maybe the boys just like you. But Mila's not down with that. She doesn't like it. She doesn't want to be poked and prodded and hugged by the boys. And, if it doesn't feel like flirting, what is it? And then Mila starts taking karate class. And slowly, with the help of a classmate, Mila learns kind of how to stand up for herself and stand her ground and kind of learn how to respect others and herself. Boys and girls need to read this book. Next one is a nonfiction book. It is called It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. And if Trevor Noah looks familiar, that might be because you've seen him on the show called The Daily Show. And Trevor this book's all about him growing up as an outsider because he's of mixed race. Born at a time when marriage or relations between black people and white people was illegal in South Africa. So his parents, had Trevor kind of breaking the law because they weren't even supposed to be together. Well, no, Trevor was a mischievous kid, and the stuff he gets into as a boy are entertaining, but he reveals so much more about life during this time and what was wrong and the kind of this world of poverty and racism and injustice and abuse that he's living in. This is a fascinating look into South Africa during the 1980s and 1990s. And even though it's, about a place that you may not know a lot about, it's super easy to read because of the stories that he talks about. Something completely different, City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is kind of, if you like spooky stories and adventure. Um, if you like the show Stranger Thing or Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, you might like this one. This is about a girl named Cass, and she almost drowned. Now, okay, she did drown, but she doesn't like to think about it. But she can pull back the veil that separates the living from the dead, and she's able to enter this into the world of spirits. And her best friend is even a ghost that she kind of communicates with. Well, Cass's parents are also into the supernatural, and they actually decide to move to Scotland to host a show all about the supernatural. And when they get to Scotland, Cass realizes that Scotland is full of ghosts. And when she meets somebody else who shares kind of her gift that she can pull back the veil, she realizes that she has a lot to learn about the veil and herself. And she kind of has to learn fast because the city of ghosts is more dangerous than she could ever imagine. So, like lots of action, lots of haunting and history and mystery. So this was a good one if you like that kind of stuff. If you like graphic novels, The OK Witch. This was kind of told to me, this is like Sabrina the Teenage Witch meets Roller Girl, because it's got some humor, it's got some kind of witchiness going on. So Moth, the main character, is a girl who is kind of a half witch, who's just kind of discovering the truth about herself and her family and her town. And she's learning all this history about herself and that she is part witch, but she's also trying to just survive middle school as well. And, now that she knows magic, it's harder than it looks. So there's all kinds of family drama, middle school drama, along with learning how to be a witch. So if you like graphic novels, take a look at that one. The Line Tender. This one is it's a little bit slower of a book, but nonetheless, it's a good one. But it's about a girl, Lucy, who's 12 years old, and her best friend, Fred, who are inspired to learn about the work of Lucy's mother, who passed away a few years before. Her mother was a shark researcher, and when a dead great white shark is brought to the dock of their small Cape Cod town, Lucy wants to find out more. So Lucy and Fred do all this investigating, and they're looking into her mom's research. And Lucy's dad is still struggling with the death of his wife, and Lucy is doing the best she can with the death of her mother. And then a sudden shocking accident stuns Lucy and the whole town again. And Lucy is navigating with this new grief on top of all that rest of it. And so this book is all just about healing and growth and, science and shark facts. Kind of a quiet book, but I think it's a rewarding book if you get through it. Inkling. This one is a little bit different as well. It's a little bit fantasy. It's about the Rylance family, and Ethan is, I think, in 7th grade, and Ethan's dad is a cartoonist, and his dad published a book that everybody loved, and he hasn't published his second book because he's got writer's block, and everybody's expecting this great second book because the first one was so good. But Ethan's dad can't come up with ideas. And everybody expects Ethan to be this great artist as well. But Ethan's not. And Ethan promises his group at school he's going to do all the illustrations for this big group project. And he can't draw. But one night, Inkling appears. Inkling is this ink blob that jumps off the paper and kind of turns into whatever the family needs. Ethan's little sister wants a puppy, and Inkling turns into a puppy for her. This is kind of a little bit of a weird book. Um, I can't say I didn't enjoy it, but it's just different. There's all kinds of drawings and things throughout of Inkling. At the end, there's a little bit of a mystery and adventure that Inkling goes on. So I'm interested to see what students think about this one. King and the Dragonflies. This is about 12-year-old Kingston, who his brother passed away shortly before the book begins, and Kingston is positive that his brother has turned into a dragonfly. And you might laugh at that and think that sounds crazy, but it's just Kingston believes that he shed his first skin for another to live. Kingston can't believe that his brother is gone for good, and he doesn't want to let go of his brother. So he's looking everywhere to find his brother. And shortly before his brother died, he told Kingston to stay away from a neighbor, Sandy, who was gay. And Kingston's brother said, you wouldn't want anybody to think you're gay, would you? Well, Kingston has starting to have feelings that he doesn't know how to feel about. And he doesn't want to disappoint his brother, but he's known Sandy forever, and he's been friends with Sandy. And just days after, Sandy goes missing because Sandy isn't accepted by his family. And Kingston knows where Sandy went. So Kingston is kind of stuck into what he's supposed to do. Is he supposed to help Sandy escape from his abusive father? Or is he supposed to turn Sandy in? Is he supposed to hang out with Sandy? Or should he not, because what his brother said? So it's all about Kingston trying to figure out who he is and what is best for him. I really, really liked this book, and I hope you do too. And the last one, Other Words for Home. Some of you may have already read this if you were in the book club last year, but this is about Jude, who is a 12-year-old girl from Syria who leaves behind her father and brother and moves to Cincinnati, Ohio, middle America. Doesn't know anybody, doesn't know the language, doesn't know some of the customs and culture. And she is just kind of thrown right in. And she's lonely. And her best friend isn't returning her letters. And Skype sessions with her father aren't, happening as much as she would want to. And, her mother's pregnant. Her cousin wants nothing to do with her. So she's just not loving life because she stands out. And in middle school, you really don't want to stand out, but things in her family aren't going well. And, Jude is just trying to get by. But then there is a play, and Jude realizes that maybe there's this part in this play that she can be in. This is a book told in verse, so it won't take you a terrible long time to read. Love this book about trying to fit in, again, trying to figure out who you are, where you belong, and kind of the power of believing in yourself. So there you have it. 10 books in 10 minutes. I think I may have went a little bit extra, but I hope you take a chance to read one of these books, two of these books, maybe all 10 of them. Enjoy.